Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the award-winning and, I mean, frankly, I would say probably legendary pre-ramble section of the Painting with Menoth John Wednesday night extravaganza. I am, of course, you might know him as Menoth John. You might know him as John. But you know that guy over there as John, but you can't see that because you don't see our faces yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. We are the force that is uniquely the Painting with Menoth John Wednesday night experience. Well, welcome. You've clearly decided that you have got nothing better to do, and bless your hearts, because here we are.
It's a Wednesday night. What's on a Wednesday night?
That's right, Wednesday night.
What's on TV after all? Does anyone watch TV live anymore?
Hey, Frank the Tank, welcome. Welcome.
For?
Yeah, I mean, what else are you going to do on a Wednesday night except worry about the fact that Mike Pence is now our coronavirus czar? I mean, honest to God, 10 out of 10 would science-ophobic again. I mean, that guy. He heard about science one time.
He made believe in it.
That's a bunch of make-believe nonsense. So can't you see Mike Pence rolling up on the Center for Disease Control and Prevention and go, "Where's your Chick-fil-A, bitch?"
Oh my! Isn't that in Atlanta though? So I mean, there probably is one nearby.
You're not wrong. There might be. You know that is an interesting dichotomy. What if, John? What if there was a Chick-fil-A in the lobby of the CDC and whatever other new initials they put in there?
Don't worry, there is no way I could possibly find this out on the internet.
Oh my God, that's why you are the co-host with the mo-host, because you've got an itchy internet finger and can find things out.
It solves a lot of problems in my actual day job as well.
That's why you're good at your job, man. For those of you who are, well, you don't know yet, but we have an intern. We're going to get to that later. That's a teaser, folks. You know, that's a sign of quality podcasting, is when you can tease things. That's what I should have done. I should have put that out on the interwebs, on the socials. That's what those kids today, John, they talk about. They talk about them socials, right?
Them socials, indeed.
Hell yeah. I should have Instagrammed them.
No, or that Tic Tac. Use the Tic Tac.
Fuck yeah, the Tic Tac. That Tic Tac, yeah, but then you're broadcasting all your socializing at the Chinese. Well, God damn it. Back to coronavirus.
Yeah. Oh my.
This is the best 15 minutes in podcasting every week, and then we go and paint and fuck it all up.
You know how it is. Let's see. Do I got a street address for this thing?
Oh my God.
303.
Where's Yelp when you need it? Uh-oh, he's getting out the bottle of brown liquor. This won't end well.
Let's see. Is that right?
Intern Haley, do you like brown liquor?
Like rum?
This is whiskey. Take a sniff before you make any decisions.
Oh, jeez.
You don't have a job. I got a couch. Don't worry about it.
Ouch. I have 2 degrees, though.
You got all the degrees. Yeah, you're like 2, 3, 4 degrees. You're at least you're somewhere near the surface of Mars. All right, here we go.
It smells good.
It smells like something to take the paint right off a car, isn't it?
Not like vodka.
Not like vodka. You're right. Not like the vodka your dad buys.
No, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
That's nail polish.
Acetone the clown. There you go. Any progress on finding out whether or not Jesus Chicken is near the CDC?
Oh, they're definitely nearby. I'm just,
All right.
you know.
Trying to narrow it down.
You know, you're looking at 2 disparate maps here at different scales. It gets difficult. So there's the 85.
Crimson 1919. Thank you once again for being a part of the Painting with Menoth John Brushhead family. We appreciate you.
Yeah, I would say there's definitely one.
Within Moseian distance?
Yeah, it's quite honestly probably only maybe a couple blocks away.
Yeah. That's well within range of fixin' to go there. I promise you that.
Let's see officially. No, not quite a couple blocks. It's like a 10-minute drive.
Oh, that's a bunch of nonsense. You know, Jesus Chicken, get your shit together.
2.5 miles.
You know, there's science to be conquered. and you can get your chicken sandwich on there. I'll bet you there's a Popeyes in the not too distant away from there. I'm actually going to play Menoth because I need them for my cater. Hey, that's amazing. There you go, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, paint that Menoth. Damn it. We're going to talk about that today. We'll talk about lots of things.
Oh, John, I watched a sizable portion of the preview of the Warcaster game, and I have early reviews.
Oh, that's great. How do you think Tao's going to do?
Meh.
Oh, well, that's,
I mean, I think Gorilla had it right when he said, meh.
Meh. The thing we got to kind of keep in mind with Warcaster 40K or whatever the F they're calling it, is that the D6 generation. I respect the shit out of Russ and that kind of stuff. The thing that they said is that it's strictly a scenario based game, and that's a good thing and a bad thing.
It's entirely good as from a game design standpoint.
Well, you know what? This is perfect. This is amazing content that belongs in the meat and beef of the Painting with Menoth John show. We can't shit this stuff like during the pre-ramble and they can't see my beautiful face.
Well, then let's get it on.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the pre-ramble of the Painting with Menoth John Wednesday night experience. We're going to come right back and we're going to give you the business. We're going to give it... we haven't given you the business in a while, and we're going to do that. So, ladies and gentlemen, stand by for action.
Stand by for action?
Yeah, it's a callback.
You're killing me.
Painting with Menoth John is presented in Super Legitivision. Super Legitivision, the future of podcasting. It's .com.
Hello, I'm
Menoth John.
and I'd like to welcome you. First of all, let me take just a moment to thank you for allowing me back into your homes. If this is your first time with us, let me extend a personal invitation for you to drag out your
miniatures
and paint along with us each week. Let's go over to the canvas here and let's get started. I believe, every day's a good day when you paint. I believe, it'll bring a lot of good thoughts to your heart. I believe, every day's a good day when you paint. I believe, it'll bring a lot of good thoughts to your heart. Let's build a happy little cloud. Let's build some happy little trees. There are no limits here. You start out by believing here. You can almost paint with anything. All you have to do is practice.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, all you've got to practice and all you got to do is tune in on Wednesday night. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again. 2 weeks in a row, the Painting with Menoth John Wednesday Night Spectacular is back on the air, bitches. We are ready to have some fun. We are ready to have some frivolity. And ladies and gentlemen, you're noticing something right away. And the first thing we're going to notice is, of course, up in the catbird seat. You know him. You love him. He is the best in the business. He is the co-host with the mo-host, Mr. John Spencer.
Hey-o.
Ho! How you doing there, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm living the dream. I've been drinking since approximately 4 o'clock this afternoon, so that would make it a solid 3 hours. Meanwhile, I cooked a German dish and served it to my children and others, and it was fantastic.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we're kicking ass and taking names. There was red wine that had to be drank.
When it's got to be drank, it's got to be drank.
I got drank that shit.
I'm the
Anyway,
man for the job.
but wait, you'll notice back here, you see it, ladies and gentlemen, we have gone and leveled up. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce the Painting with Menoth John intern. Ladies and gentlemen, that's right. We have an official intern. Her name's Haley. Say hello to the people, Haley.
Hi there, I'm Haley. Nice to meet you guys.
That's right. We have literally quadrupled the beauty of this podcast by bringing Haley on board. That's a 400% increase in awesome. Haley is Belinda Librarian's niece and a terrific person in and of her own self. And she is interested in podcasting. So why the shit she showed up at this show is anybody's guess. But she's gonna be our intern. She's not paid. She's used to it.
It's okay, I am.
She's used to it.
John, I regret to inform you that we're no longer paid either.
Oh, that's right. So we're like interns too. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Painting with Intern John podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a we're doing it for free. We're doing it for charity. Not as much as we do it for John Con for charity, but it's still pretty high level charity nonsense. It is Wednesday night. We've made it through another week, ladies and gentlemen, in the long dark tea time of our soul that is uniquely 2020. We are here to spread the positivity and the painting. Question for Haley: how does it feel having your feet nerfed twice? That's amazing. She has no idea what that means.
No idea.
There is a Warcaster in the War Machine game named Haley.
Really?
Yes, and her second version, her epic version, was so overpowered that they had to tone her down twice. So I'm gonna try to readjust this microphone so that y'all can see Haley a little bit better.
How does that Haley spell her name?
Just like that, just like you.
No, I'm Hailey.
Okay, so she hasn't been nerfed twice, but she did drop an eye. So there you go.
Yikes.
She's Haley. How do you feel about someone who's almost your namesake getting nerfed twice?
Can you define what nerf means again?
She got basically the sexist in the area made her keep her down.
Not cool. She needs to be herself, and
That's right.
we're living in a movement right now where she needs to be able to freely express herself. So that's disappointing.
100%. Once again, another example of Trump keeping a woman down. Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. It's about that time, John. We've enjoyed our initial conversation with Haley. And for those of you who are watching, all four of you, or whatever it is, the bots chime in, whatever. If you got questions for Haley, got questions for us, we'll answer them. Probably you want to hear from Haley. You've heard from us for fucking 6 years.
No doubt.
They kind of know where we sit, John. I'm drinking a glass of brown liquor, but to be honest, it's not where I started. I started off with some Cabernet that was not that good. And then I moved on to, I drank a Dragon's Milk Imperial Stout at 11%, and that's gone. That was dinner. And now I've moved on to Woodford Reserve because somehow this is like $26 at the liquor store down the road. It's the best booze you can buy for that price. I promise you that.
That's why I buy a lot of those flavored whiskeys, because they are very cheap.
Yes, they are. John, what do you have in this evening?
I have a small orange juice mixed with some of that 43 vanilla liquor.
That's good. I'm glad you're just having a shot tonight. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, a shot that for maybe Shrek or something like that. That's
I
amazing.
got to work tomorrow.
Yeah, I hear you. Haley, what are you drinking right now?
So at dinner time, we had that wine that was having an identity crisis. Didn't know if it wanted to be a sweet or a dry, so that was interesting. And then I'm having this M43 NE India Pale Ale, and it's very tasty.
Very tasty. What would you give it as far as shots of Kraken? 5 being something that is absolutely horrible, 0 being something that is absolutely sublime.
Well, it's not horrible by any means. I would say it's a good maybe 1.5.
Outstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, you have it right there. Our intern Haley has judged that beer a 1.5 shots of Kraken.
The
ladies
humor
and
in judging beers and shots of Kraken is...
yeah, it's kind of crossing the streams, but that's fine.
But that's our thing.
That's what we do. That's what we absolutely do. So on behalf of Haley, on behalf of Mr. John Spencer, and on behalf of Menoth John, your best friend and essentially all your uncles, hey, Ron.
Ron.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I can't express to you in words how sick to frickin' death I am of Helios. This model is my bane. It's green. I don't like the green colors that I chose for it for the airbrushing. It made mix. You know what? I should probably put this on the painting cam because
Oh my.
there you
Yeah,
go.
let's...
Durr! All right, so, John, you were very complimentary in the last podcast, and I appreciate that. It's one of the things I appreciate about you. And but
You're always going to be your harshest critic.
yeah, and I think that goes for everybody. Folks, it's okay to be your harshest critic, but make sure that you're listening to the people that are giving you the feedback too, because they're really looking at it from the outside looking in, and sometimes you get a little close to the problem. And you need to take a step back and listen to your friends and colleagues, because they're not just feeding you nonsense. They honestly know you, and they know what you've done. And that's why I appreciate, John, some of the fine feedback you've given me on this model. That being said,
the gems really took it up.
it did.
Helps so much.
Yeah, it really did. And once I still got a few to do. Like I've decided to do on the legs here, I decided to do kind of the gem work that's like on the top here, which is that black going to with a blue kind of fading up and stuff. I'll catch that up. I just feel like we haven't done like a basing project on the show recently.
Basing is currently my held because this guy.
Yeah. Hey, that's quite a thing you got there.
Thank you. Showing off my thing. I shouldn't do it in front of the lady I know.
No, your thing is really big. I mean, it takes up a lot of space. You know, when you've got a thing that big, you shouldn't feel bad about showing it off.
Yeah, but I could work on this base forever.
Yeah.
To get the lines super crisp, but
John,
I'm
that's
done.
looking
He
badass.
needs to be done, so we're gonna be sealing him up soon.
John, that's looking badass. The checkerboard is something that I have never really been willing to walk up to because it is so time consuming.
To be fair, that's actually plastic art on top that already has the checkerboard in it.
Oh, well, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's still a lot of cleanup that has to be done.
Yes, it's mine. It breaks me. That's why he's done.
All right, folks. So here's the deal. You know, it's been a long time. It's been a long time since anyway, it's been a long time since we've done any basing on the show. And I think that one of the things is, since I'm not super happy with where the paint job is on the top of this, I really want something on the base of it that's going to draw a person's eye away from my half-ass paint job.
Well, also, might compliment your allegedly half-ass paint job, and it'd make it stand out more. I mean, depends on what you do with the base.
It'll basically change. I think if I do a decent job on the base, I think it'll change perceptions around it.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to ask our intern Haley to take a step away from the chair right now. And there's a little orange IKEA dish over there on the white table. If she would be so kind as to go get that for me. It's right next to the little white thing with the red LEDs on it. Magnifico. Yeah. Bring that on over here. And what we're going to do here tonight is we're going to base this guy. So the strategy here is a basing technique. Thank you so much. The strategy we're going to use here is we're going to use a basing technique that I used on my Glacier King. And the Glacier King was essentially, it's got a couple, two, three zones in it. The first zone is going to be occupied by sand. And we're going to take that and we're going to have that be reminiscent of the rest of my Retribution, which has it's sand and it's got a fall leaf litter pattern to it, because the Retribution is a dying race, and I want that fall motif kind of pulling into it. But
that's very meta, sir.
I know, right? And then what I'm going to do is, rather than doing the ice type of a theme that I did with the the Glacier King, I'm going to do a swamp vibe, because we're going to have this Iosian Warjack kind of coming out into the swamps, leaving Ios heading towards the swamplands. And it's the nice thing about doing a swamp piece is that the underlying the base colors that you choose to represent the swamp are super simple to do. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get this goddamn model done. And the way I can do that is by using these techniques in combination to kind of get it done, but still make it look super classy. If you look at my Hyperion, the Hyperion model has the leaf litter and it has those kind of pieces, but it has like a forest theme to it. It's got some logs and things like this. I don't feel like going out and like foraging for sticks out in the ground right now, because it's here in Wisconsin, it is balls cold. It is not okay. And I just don't feel like foraging like anytime soon. So we're going to do this because I can do it all inside, and that's what we're going to do, John.
Yeah. And a good note for our listeners is that just because he's going to call it quote unquote done doesn't mean it's done. You can always come back to a project later and add to it.
Yeah.
Even if you seal it, you can still paint over that sealing. Just make sure you seal what you paint after you seal.
100%. 100%. And there is work to be done on this. There are sections of the jewels that I need to put a little bit more on it because one of the things I've noticed as I've gone back and touched up some of these jewels is that they will deepen in color a little bit, and it helps them pop a little bit better. And then I still have these leg jewels to do, and I'll catch those up. But what I wanted to do was give something meaty to the show to show some progress on. So, okay, so we're going to do this as a multi-stage. Yes, John is going to touch up his jewels. That's right. I have the most mature fan base in the entire internet.
I mean, we were talking about my thing a second ago.
It's fucking huge, man. How could we not talk about it?
So before you start, what's your thoughts? Some guys have suggested I take the base and make the base gloss varnish to make it look like actual tile, and then paint him obviously matte. I think it might be a touch too much.
I think it's a touch too much. So the problem with doing that is that I think that when you put the gloss on there, that it's going to be too glossy for reality, because no tile really looks that glossy. But here's something to think about. What if you painted it glossy? What if you put the glossy seal on it and then dry brushed it with matte varnish?
Fair. Or, I mean, as Crimson just suggested, I could go with satin varnish.
If you have
happen
some.
to have that too.
Oh, if you got the satin, that's where I would go.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it's me.
I know, right? You got all the toys.
That's right, Dave.
Literally. Including mini Gundams and Transformers and things like that.
No, that's just Transformers and Minskin Boo over here.
Okay, there you go. Excellent. I'll be honest. I'll be very transparent because there's literally only 4 people watching. I couldn't tell a Gundam from a Transformer from this distance if my life frickin' depended upon it. There, I just mortgaged my nerd card.
Oh my God, no, John!
all 3 of my listeners check out.
I mean, there are Gundams in the house, so it's a fair statement because Banyan the roomie is a bigger Gundam guy than I.
So, planning time. Okay, so there's a couple of cool things you can do with water. One of the cool things you can do with water is have their feet coming out of it. And I think that's where I'm headed with this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in my head kind of essentially where I want this critter to be coming out of. And I think I want the front half to be presented as a water effect because everybody ooh-ahs at water effects. And if you put them at the front, that's going to be facing your opponent, and they can go ooh-ah, and they can't tell how shitty you are at the game. So
to a pander to sort of our kind of audience, you could say that the water effects get them wet.
Oh, snap. You could say that, but I'm not going to because our intern is a woman of taste and awesome.
I was actually talking about the guys.
Oh, the guys? Yeah, they'll get wet too, but only because they probably poured their beer on them. All right, so we're going to base, and that means that we are going to be using our famous, and we've talked about this on the show before, washable clear school glue, Elmer's. Some high-tech shit right there.
Look, if you would have told me in elementary school that Elmer's is going to be so useful later in life, I'd have paid more attention to using it in arts and crafts.
No kidding. So I use the clear rather than the white only because I think it makes it a little bit easier. I know the white... Jesus Christ. Okay, has it been that long? All right, here we go. It's actually coming out now. This is good. And we're just going to smear this shit all over the place while I develop carpal tunnel syndrome. Oh, God, this is so painful.
As long as you stop when it hurts, it's okay.
Oh, no. That's when you got to give her the business.
This is actually not a joke. One of my ex-partner, when I had a store, actually was painting models and painted like after his hand started hurting and started to give himself carpal tunnel.
Yeah, don't do that. Ladies and gentlemen, we ain't killing babies. We're not saving them. We're just making models. So
Yeah.
so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna give this, John. We're gonna give this the business.
The business, huh?
Yeah, we're giving this the business right here. We're using all of the brush hairs on this brush right now.
But I tell you, John, between my Malifaux models, drawn resin bases, and the Marvel models I've been painting here, I haven't actually done any basing in a long time.
There you go. Well, this is something we need to talk about on the Painting with Men with John show, because literally the hobby community, it stands still to figure out what the hell Painting with Men with John's going to talk about next. I hear
Yep.
that there are literally entire communities of painters that are sitting there. What's going to come out of Menoth John's mouth next? Okay, so what you're seeing here, folks, and you probably can't even see it because the camera angle, is we want to make sure that we get a good paint. We bring it right up to the lip of the base, because a lip of the base without glue is a lip of the base without you. And I don't know what that means, but that's okay. Okay, so we got about over half of the deal, and we're going. Well done, John. You didn't open up your water. That's super sweet and totally legit. So let's get the water going here. This water brought to you by a ball mason jar. Okay, and we're going to put him down over here. Okay, so you're saying to yourself, why does he have it in the big old dish? The big old dish is because we're going to put some of that Citadel sand over there, and we're going to give it the love. First we give it the business, then we give it the love.
And otherwise, it's going to make a darn mess.
That's right. And we're just going to shit all over it. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, if you feel like you need to wear a mask during this portion of the show, nobody's going to be admitted, John, during the ultra exciting Menoth John pours the sand scene. Nobody's going to be admitted during that part.
No, you got to wait till we're done.
Oh, no. That's right. All right, so folks, there is a fine line that you have to draw when you're basing, and that is the amount of time that you allow the sand to be in contact with the glue is directly proportional to how much it's going to build up. Okay? And that may seem obvious, but if you rush the process, what's going to happen is that the glue's not going to saturate the sand, and you're going to end up with a thin layer. And you don't want that. You want to have a layer of sand as thick as you just put the glue down, because then it builds it up, and you end up with this like super sweet sort of like tabletop of sand on the basing.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've gone past where I've applied the glue, because I want it's kind of an approximate thing. Okay, the glue's gonna soak up what it's gonna soak up, and especially in the area where the glue was, I should say, at the kind of the where you would think of it as a beach kind of a thing, it's gonna like naturally kind of form that little downward slope that you see when sand meets water. And this is the really exciting part now to podcast, which is watching sand dry.
Fair. But still, it's got to happen.
So we're going to ask, I think we should play 20 questions with our intern. What do you think?
Let's go for it.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
That's cool. So our intern, Haley, what are you thinking of for your first podcast? If you had to like pick a subject to that interests you and that you feel like you have something to say about, what do you think your first podcast will be about?
Definitely one thing. Whoops. Didn't know.
A little closer.
Okay. Definitely passionate about politics. One of my majors in college was journalism. The other was global national security. So I'm really interested in, and one thing I was passionate about when I was in college is the youth going out to vote. And I feel like that was an issue in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, that's something that I would want to podcast about is politics coming from, I don't want to say a simple person like me, because I'm not like an NBC journalist or anything.
There's nothing wrong with simple.
Right. So just like, coming from your regular average college student with 2 degrees living in her parents' basement right now.
And you know what, that's actually a really interesting vibe for a podcast, because if you look at, and I, honestly, I don't search a lot of political podcasts, but I'd be willing to bet that's a unique perspective to take from. So I think that's a really cool idea for an initial podcast. So that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Um, and I know that you worked for the Biden campaign.
I did.
You did, and I know right now you're between campaigns because there was a whatever, personnel decisions being as they are. One thing leads to another, and when you've only got $1.33 to spend on a state, it's hard to bring a whole lot of people with you.
That is one way to put it. Yes.
Yeah, so completely divorcing yourself from from your experience, and knowing that there's literally nobody that listens to this show. Where are of the candidates that are still in the race? Which one speaks to you the most as a person who, you've got your own opinions and that kind of stuff. Which candidate right now is speaking to you?
Okay, so I, as a 22-year-old woman, I definitely identify as a moderate. So definitely Joe Biden I still stand with. Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg. Definitely I stand with them a lot. I agree with a lot of their viewpoints a lot, and I think that based on yesterday's debate, I think that Mr. Biden had a really good, strong, he was feisty as compared to, his standoffish attitude. But I know that Amy Klobuchar, she's kind of climbing up. Pete, he did well in Iowa where I was, and he's kind of teetering in between states and stuff like that. But definitely I still kind of stand with, and this is because I worked on the Biden campaign and I'm a little bit biased, but I still stick with him. But also I really like Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg right now. But I still think that every candidate has a lot to bring to the table, as opposed to, the current guy who's in office right now.
Cool. No, that's really cool. And what's interesting is that if one listens to a lot of media outlets, one would think that someone with a younger demographic would be leaning more towards, let's say, a more left-leaning perspective, the Sanders or Warren or something like that. By the way, Crimson, yeah, ostensibly, Painting with Menoth John is not a political podcast, but
We all got opinions, and it's that time of year.
I'm a communist, whatever. And so that's interesting. I'm going to ask you a question, and that is, and you can take it wherever you want. Okay. What parts of, let's say, Warren and Sanders' platforms are less appealing for you?
Okay. One thing with the party right now is it's always vote blue no matter who, and I'm definitely one of those. So whether that be Pete Buttigieg at the end, Mr. Sanders at the end, I will definitely vote for them. In 2016, I voted for Bernie Sanders, and I was 18 years old at the time, my first election ever, and I didn't really quite understand politics at the time. But now that I'm 22 and a little bit wiser, but I feel still in the same mindset as 18-year-old Haley, I guess what it is that what I really like about Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren is that they are very passionate about change. Mm-hmm. And that is what we need in America right now after 4 years of what we've been currently dealing with. We've gone backwards instead of forwards, and I believe that Bernie Sanders' ideals, for example, I think would be very progressive and jump us forward in terms of being progressive in healthcare, for example, and everything like that, because healthcare is a base, and one thing that you learn in national security is healthcare is a universal human right. The United States is behind in that. If we were a European country right now, I believe that we would be at that level, and Bernie Sanders would be a catalyst for that. But right now with America, it's kind of, you have Donald Trump versus Bernie Sanders, for example, and I don't think that America is definitely ready for that, but I believe that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are willing to bring that change, which I really respect about them.
Makes a lot of sense. So basically, if I were to summarize a little bit, what you're saying is that while you identify with the issues that Warren and Sanders are putting forward, you feel like there are steps that we need to take in order to get there, and the candidates that you are more personally aligned with represent those stepping stones to get to where that Warren and Sanders might be a little ahead of their time.
Right.
Fair enough. Okay, well, during that interlude, while we were having a more cogent debate than CBS was somehow able to take care of, we are going to now shake our Helios. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very exciting part of the podcast where we shake our Helios. Oh, yeah, shake it. Shake it, baby. Yeah, shake that Helios. All right, there you go. John, did you lock up on me, or are you still there? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've lost John because the internet. And we're going to cut him off. Then we'll dial back up. Sometimes his internet does some crazy-ass shit. And we will go ahead and bring him back on. There you go. Johnny, you're back? There
I
you
find
are.
it hilarious that you come off right as my internet came back up.
There you go. Cool. All right, so I shake it, baby. All right, here we go. And you'll notice we have sand in the back and nothing up front. That's a little bit like having a mullet. So it's like a sand mullet. And we are going to dump that sand out of there. John, did you hear all of our cogent political diatribe there?
I did actually. I caught all of that.
Seemed pretty. That was relatively cogent for this podcast, wasn't it?
Yeah, she actually said, not in the same as blunt way as someone online, a fellow said that while he likes what Bernie Sanders is talking about, he doesn't have a plan for what to do to get, between the start and the end. He doesn't have a full plan for what we do in the meantime. And that's why he wouldn't vote for him. And as an older guy, I say that is, and it's a fair point, but we can't not do change because we don't have a plan for the in-between, as we always have. We'll get through the in-between.
Yeah.
You can't not shoot for the future just because you're worried about the now. Sometimes we got to take a little hit in the now to make sure everyone in the future has the proper future.
Yep. I think that the politically where I'm at is that I've been very fortunate. I've been very fortunate. I'll be the first one to admit it. Wow, this turned out way the hell better than I thought it was going to. Man, that is crisp. So, folks, I'm going to let this sit for a little bit. Then I'm going to turn it up on its end so y'all can get a picture of it. But I have been very lucky in that I have been blessed with the perspective of having more and having less. And one of the things that having less taught me was that it's a goddamn shame to have less. And there's not a whole lot working in your favor when you don't have much. When you have a lot, there's a lot of flexibility you have around doing whatever the bloody heck you want to do and how you're going to do it. And it's not okay for people to not be healthy just because they're in a tough spot from a dollar standpoint. And the folks that I feel like the folks that are arguing against things like universal health care, or at least some version of universal health care, have never had the situation where they have had to make the choice between getting their insulin and eating. And that is a decision that people have to actually make in this country. Now, you have plans like Bernie's putting out there, which, and here's why I support Bernie's position. You ask for the sun, the moon, and the stars, but you realize you can negotiate to something that's reasonable. Because if you don't start with the sun, the moon, and the stars, you've got nowhere to negotiate from.
Yeah, if you start at your end, what you actually want, people are going to negotiate you down from there because that's how haggling works.
And that's exactly how Obamacare ended up unfortunately the way it was.
Yeah.
Because God bless his heart, Barack asked for what he actually wanted. Now,
Yeah.
we're going to rewind that for a second, and now we're going to go back to Bernie's plan, which is essentially single-payer universal health care with rainbows and sugar and the whole 9 yards, which you can point towards who's paying for the health care for the victims of the latest shooting in Milwaukee. The victims are, and that's not okay. So
I mean, every day we go through and social media is full of people who are like, oh, my sister or myself or my mother is very, very sick. We can't afford the bills. And I mean, I throw what money I can in those, but it's crazy that we have to go beg on GoFundMe or something to afford healthcare bills for people.
Yeah, I mean, John, for those of you out there, go to YouTube and look at John Oliver's discussion of universal health care. And it is a cogent and well thought out argument. And it's not like because he's a Brit, he just went that the British healthcare system is the greatest thing. The national healthcare system is the greatest thing since sliced bread, because that's not where he's at. The fact of the matter is that people make decisions around whether or not they are going to want to live or die based upon whether or not some jackass in an insurance company decides that that's how things are going to be. So, in between Bernie's sugar plum rainbow and fucking unicorns plan is the Netherlands. And that's where we want to end up, is because the Netherlands have, and I'm very, 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 very fortunate to have some very good friends in the Netherlands who have spent some time with me over a couple of not quite Belgian beers, who have discussed with me how it works. And they have their national healthcare service looks a shit ton like my actual company-sponsored insurance plan. And that is, everybody's got to have insurance. Because the only way insurance plans work is if you spread the actuarial table across enough people so that the young folks are paying for the old folks. Sorry about that, intern.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I don't go to the doctor almost ever, so I am happy to be funding people who need to.
Yep.
Because it'll come back around. That's the idea. It swings
As it
back
turns
around.
out,
Karmic
we're a
wheel.
goddamn society. Anyway, you make sure everybody has insurance. And that's where the Republicans put their dick in the butter dish on Obamacare, because they fucked up the actuarial tables as soon as they let two things happen. They got rid of the mandate, and they allowed insurance companies to exit the market. Because as soon as those two things happened, the actuarial tables collapsed, and you ended up with no spreading of risk. And when that happens, you end up losing your shirt as an insurance company. And if we want the insurance companies to endure, you have to allow them to make a profit. And the only way they make a profit is on the backs of the healthy. Okay? So, and nobody was willing to be honest about that. So, where we need to end up with is where the Netherlands are, where they have, and this is going to sound familiar for those of you with company plans, bronze, silver, and gold plans, because everybody loves that analogy. Okay? If you are willing to pay more into it, you go from the bronze to the silver. If you're paying for a little bit more, you get the silver to the bronze. And what that does is it buys you different levels of services. Okay? The bronze plan gets you preventative care and gets you a basic level of prescriptions, and it gets you all that kind of stuff. You like generics and stuff like that, which is, you're going to pay out of pocket for it, turns out. Then your silver plan is a little bit better, and that tends to be where I'm at. And then the gold plan is for those people who want everything covered and don't want to have to freaking think about it. Cool. The people who are willing to throw their money at that level of not having to think about it, pay for others. everybody's cool. And
Yeah.
that's not socialism. That's just moving the incentive.
Socialism's just a red herring.
Socialism is whatever
Honestly,
the fuck you
people
define
put-
it as.
True dat.
Yeah, they just want to throw that out there as a term that most people don't understand what it actually is. I mean, it's America. The average person doesn't care. They hear socialism bad, and then they're done. They don't look anything beyond that.
I promise you, the 10 out of 10 Alabama residents who hate socialism have never read Marx.
I mean,
I haven't read Marx.
I guarantee that.
Anthony said she did.
Oh,
I've not read Marx. So there you go. So, wow, this is like the most politically charged Pain with Menoth. This is like politics with Menoth John.
I'm sorry.
yeah,
No.
no doubt. We're
We always talk about
serious
politics,
topics and
Haley.
stuff.
We always talk about politics. This is about how much are we going to talk about politics.
It's better than
Yeah, usually we're a little bit more slam dunking on the easy targets, though.
But at the end of the day, folks, at the end of the day, if you don't interface with people who don't have much, I recommend it. Because it's going to recalibrate you. There are people out there who are literally making the decision each and every day, am I going to eat today, or am I going to have to manage my sugar in my blood such that I don't just fucking die? That is a decision that they make on a daily basis. And you know what? That's not okay. That's not okay. Get out of the little box you might find yourself, and realize that there are others who have less than you, and be willing to put yourself in their shoes. You don't have to walk a mile in their fucking shoes. God damn it. I'm not asking you to be poor. I just want you to think like you are. And say, you know what? They're just people. And they have challenges, and they have different things that they're dealing with every day. And by God, they deserve the chance to stand up and be counted and have a shot. Because nobody wants to be on fucking welfare. Anybody that believes that bullshit is just wrong. But just Bell knows I'm on my soapbox now. That's fine. So, folks, we're gonna
Look, usually I'm the one with the rant, so it's okay.
about 5 months from now, we're gonna be hitting you for money. We're gonna be coming at you with John Con 2020, and I'm gonna ask you to dig deep, because every dollar we give, that goes straight to the food bank, because people ain't got food, don't have hope, and I spend a lot of my own money to make John Con happen. The Mournival comes out here on my ticket, and every dollar that we feed people with comes out of my pocket. Every deck of Keyforge sitting back there comes out of my pocket. Everything that we do, every dollar we spend on ingredients comes out of my pocket. Why? Because I have more. I have more, and that means I can make more for others who have less. So get out there, folks. And I hope that you'll have an opportunity when we get out there, tune into the RPG. We're going to do naughty, bad things to characters. We can touch them in a real bad spot and just have fun. And it's going to be a Chuck Tingle RPG, so strap on your boots, bitches. It's going to be something special. And probably going to want to leave the kids away from that one. But anyway,
Yeah, definitely an R or PG-13.
the Friday night event is going to be PG. The Saturday night RPG, Chuck and Jake don't get to participate in that one. So anyway, what time is it anyway?
So you're telling me it's going to be more risque than the Saturday night event we had when I came, which
Yes.
was watching Team America World Police?
Yes, yes. A Chuck Tingle RPG can't help but be that way. I feel like this was a great rant,
Fair enough.
John, and it would have
Yeah,
been nice if
absolutely.
there was more than 4 people watching, but we'll take all the watchers we can get. I'm gonna basically put I'll put some shit on the Snapple chats and the Instantgrams, and we'll make sure people know to watch the show, right? There you go.
Yeah, I mean it's immortalized on the internet, so they can find it there.
Oh, fuck yeah. All right, so anyway, so here, take a look at this. This is like, I'm going to go back on the painting cam now because that's what we do here. We have like,
Okay.
I'm teaching Haley that we have like three cams that make this show happen. So take a look at that. That's pretty good. I mean, this is like, that's a solid start right there. Okay. So what's going to happen all up in here? This is going to be the swamp stuff. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start. John, I'm a little scared. I have to tell you. I have a little angst, a little anxiety right now, right here where it counts. Whether or not I should start painting this right now, because that glue is not dry. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I
Okay.
wouldn't.
Okay.
I'm also a 2-layer glue guy.
All right.
Because I do that, then I get glue down to like the consistency of milk, and then I brush it over just to hold that stuff in place.
Yeah.
But you do you. I do me.
I put enough frickin' matte sealant on that shit that it's like putting a layer of glue on it. So we're gonna take Marsupilami here, and we're going to find one of these dropper bottles that has matte varnish in it. It's got to be one of these over here, right? It's got a black. There we go. Plastic putty. That's not it. Dear frickin' God, where is it? There's got to be some over here, right, John?
I don't know. You
Why-
got to have some over there, man.
Why haven't you straightened out my? Okay, I'm going to ask our intern Haley.
Yes.
Okay, over on that baker's rack over yonder there is a little brown like cardboard box
Yeah.
sitting on top of a DVD player for some random ass reason.
Yep.
Could you bring that over here, please?
Yep.
Muy bueno.
So, John, do you want me to regale you with some tales of Warcaster? We started talking about.
Oh
the
my God, we're
preamble.
so far. Thank you. We have the best intern in the business, folks. I'm going to put that out there. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to do the rest of this podcast from Hunan? No. Where the hell is that coronavirus happening?
Wu-Tang?
Wu-Tang Clan. Let's go do the rest of this from the Wu-Tang. Here. Wuhan. So I'm going to do the rest of this like I'm in Wuhan province. All right, here we go. All right, so we're going to do the rest of the podcast using this look because this is me on a business trip. Okay? Anyway, so, yeah, let's hear about Warcaster 40K.
So it is just Warcaster. Private Press's new game is sort of futuristic. It's very futuristic. I haven't really looked into the background yet because, let's be honest, the game's got to stand on the merits of its actual rules, much less the background.
Yeah, something.
But your name is 40K.
Something, a Warcaster sitting in a control room.
Yeah. So actually, the funny thing is they don't actually have necessarily Warcasters like you would think. So they have a whole gameplay. It's on YouTube. If you're remotely interested in the game, I suggest checking it out.
John,
My
I know.
takeaways.
John, I know you're on a roll, but I need to interrupt for just a second. It's time for the glove of love.
Oh shit!
All right, here we go. Look, ladies and gentlemen, the blue glove of love is in effect, and there you go, folks. That's the seal of approval. Continue, please, sir. So you were
I'm
saying,
gonna get 6 out full video. I watched half of it or so
okay,
because an hour and a half is a long time to watch.
that is a long time to watch, even for Painting with Menoth John.
Yeah. So I mean, and honestly, there's a point where you're just like, I get the idea. I don't want to watch them, fumble around a tiny game like that for that long. So the big points are we hit about this on the pre-ramble. It's scenario driven entirely. You win on victory points. You do not win on killing models
Okay.
because models come back.
Okay. So it's a little bit like
they got this whole thing where you're. Go ahead.
so it's a little bit like Riot Quest in that respect, and the models just kind of come back.
I have not seen Riot Quest played.
Oh, okay.
Did not
Fair enough.
really ping my radar, but if that happens, then yes, it would not surprise me. The whole idea is so you build your army is built up of a number of units. The points don't matter.
A number of
they have
units.
points, but they don't matter for building your army. You just bring in, if you're playing a small game, you play 8 units. If it's a large game, you play 15.
Okay. So that's going to require them to
But
balance
the
their
points
units.
matter
pretty
for
hard.
bringing them in later.
Okay.
Eh. So you're either playing on a 4x4 or a 30-inch by 30-inch,
Okay.
and that's if you're playing the 8 units, you're obviously playing on a 30-inch by 30-inch. And I'm not a huge fan of the 30-inch by 30-inch because it's not a standard size. I know why they chose it,
I do too because
but it's going
they
to make it difficult to get mats and all.
because they sold mats for Company of Iron and they had to have a market for them. Wasn't that the Company of Iron
Yeah.
size?
Yeah, let's. It might be. I mean, to be honest, that release was handled so poorly, I didn't end up getting any. Just too bad because it looked good.
I have a 30 by 30 board that
Um,
was made by Aaron.
Oh,
Aaron Gordon Braden.
sounds probably why.
Yep.
I have no problem with the fact that a smaller size board. I'm just weird sizes get problematic because you don't have third parties.
Fair enough.
And yes, Crimson, so you don't have to push two tables together to play a game, which is fine, but you limit yourself when you start taking external measures like that into account. It's not like we all don't play plenty of games that require much bigger than that.
Fair enough.
It is alternating activations, but not entirely.
Okay.
Every time you go, you get to activate a unit, a squad, which is up to 3 models in a group, and then a single model, which is either be like a warrior or a warjack or your whatever their casters are called. They're not actually casters, but they're sort of
Like a leader
they're
model?
sort of their casters, but they're not the same way. It's not really a leader. It's more like a guy who channels the stuff. So
Fair enough.
they have a lot of jargon, and they used a lot of jargon when they were demoing the game, and that's a problem. They have different types of. They have a deck of cards, which is your spells and such,
Okay.
and it's kind of interesting. It's semi-random, and you get 5 in your hand out of a deck of 15, and you can discard to draw new ones. I don't know if they recycle or not. I didn't get that far, but they're called like harmonics and furies, and they. I understand you want to make a background for your game, but there's a point where you make it needlessly complex to get into by calling things really strange names.
You get a barrier
Like,
of
John,
entry.
do you know what a harmonic is?
Nope, no idea.
I believe it's a unit buff, but I can't guarantee that.
That's a problem.
The furies, I'm fairly certain, are the attack spells.
Okay.
So you do that, and you just go back and forth. When you activate, you get a squad and a single model. So you're not entirely alternating activation.
A harmonic
You're probably
sound,
getting at least 2 things to go.
a harmonic sounds a little bit like it's got like a buff for multiple things because it's like synergy, I guess, when you think about what a harmonic is.
Could be. Like I said, didn't really. I hate to say they didn't get that far, but
Yeah.
they didn't really play too. I mean, they're playing a small game, and I imagine like that's not going to happen. They gave an explanation, but trying to explain all that stuff while you're trying to learn all the rules for a game is not the best idea.
Fair enough.
So, the attack and defense, you have an attack and defense stat, and you roll. That's how many dice you roll. And oh yeah, they're custom special dice for like Monbach,
Oh God.
and they are 6-sided at least. So you roll a number of your attack dice, and then if you've got their focus, I forget what it's called. They have a focus mechanic. If you've got that on you, you get an extra of a better kind of die, the red dice. And you roll those, and total up how many successes you get. They roll their defense plus any bonuses from stuff. That's how many defense they get. If the attacker beats the defender, then they hit and they roll damage. And damage is similar. It's the power of the weapon in dice, plus 1 extra of the red dice, the good dice, for the margin of accuracy.
Okay.
And then it's versus their armor and their.
Oh shit. There you go. I thought we lost you for a second there.
Oh, yeah. So
So you-
armor 3 would require 3 successes to do a wound, and for every multiple of 3, you do 1 wound. So multiplication.
Huh. Well, I mean, I'm kind of out. I gotta get rid of this mask. I'm gonna freaking die. How I'm gonna fly in this mask is anybody's guess but mine. I don't know how to take this off. There we go. It's off. Get over there. Yeah, I don't know, John. It sounds a lot like. It sounds like they're trying to to mate up the mechanics of Monpak with with War Machine, and I don't know. What are you seeing as the highlights?
The highlights, scenario driven completely. That is good.
Okay.
Because even a good game like Marvel Crisis Protocol is scenario driven, but if you lose all your models, you lose the game regardless of the score.
Okay.
And I'm not a fan of that. That's some old school 40K bullshit.
Okay.
It should not be a win condition in a game, because you should be able to, especially for most military / superhero games, should be able to spend your resources and do everything to complete the mission. It's very cinematic, very enjoyable in a game.
Okay.
So that's alternate activations is a good step forward also.
Okay.
Should be fine even if it's multiple models. Everything else in the game is just kind of meh. Where something like Marvel felt like it was like taking bits from all the games and putting together into something greater. This looks like taking bits from other games and making something that's just, I mean, it's fine. No part of it looked bad. It just looked meh.
Okay.
So Crimson, they did use actual terrain, not mouse pads. They actually said if you have vertical terrain, you should use it if possible.
Well, good for them.
I think they're trying very hard to divorce themselves from the, and I don't mean any offense to anyone who may listen and be interested in that, from the War Machine competitive community who is all flat terrain and everything for maximum competitiveness.
Yeah, it's not fun to look at anymore.
I understand they're absolutely correct though in the competitiveness. Sure, absolutely competitive, but I think we've gotten kind of far afield from a miniature game at that point, don't you?
Yeah, I mean it's the where War Machine has ended up recently is just not. It's not great. It's the mousepad nonsense has gotten a little bit out of hand.
Yeah, and those mousepads I've used. I use the mousepad terrain for stuff, and then I, like for the forest, and I put trees on top of it. Now the trees are movable. You know, the outline of the forest, everything's good. It looks good visually. It ticks all the boxes. I like buildings where you got the mouse pad down, you put the building on top of it. Now you can move the building if it's in the way, do your measuring and all, put the building back, you know where it was, still looks awesome. But I'm a little strange like that.
No, it's all good.
So overall, I think it looks like it's going to be a fine game. I just don't think it looks exceptional.
Okay.
And that's not really fair from just watching a quick playthrough. I have a bunch of pointed questions that I'll be asking Oz on Sunday night. I don't know how many I'll answer, but I'm going to ask some.
Is Oz going to be on your show?
Yes, he is.
Wow, that's pretty fucking cool, man. You know, you get the fly in the ointment out of the way. You can actually get some guests on the show.
oh, I don't think it was you. I mean, they ain't met me yet. I mean, I'm going to try and be fair, but I was sending Gonzo questions, and they weren't exactly framed in the nicest way.
I'm
going to be much nicer than that.
So, are they still asking to screen the questions before you ask them?
That would be a negative, sir.
Wow, that's a new sheriff in town.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember when we had Pagani on. I told Pagani I might ask you some crazy questions. Feel free not to answer them. It's okay.
Yep.
I ain't going to take it personally, but I got a lot of questions to be answered. I mean, I have some interesting stuff. You need to see how they're going to do overall. So we'll see. I'm not going to say that there is a non-zero chance that I will play the game, but it is perilously close to zero. There's too many games out there. The competition's too hard, and but I don't want to discount it entirely. All my friends could suddenly fall in love with it, and then I guess I'm playing it or I ain't playing games.
Well, what's interesting is that they're doing it as a Kickstarter too.
Yeah, that's chief among my questions because that offers a lot of problems.
Yeah.
The chief of which is, let's just say, for following the train of problems, War Machine is where it is because there's no one to demo it and all. Stores aren't going to demo a known game like that so much.
If only they had press gangers.
There's no press gangers to demo it for them, so it doesn't get a lot of buzz in the stores.
Yep, if only they had press gangers. Imagine that.
And as there's no physical book to put out there, there's barely battle boxes that are really worth using. It's in a weird spot for that.
Mm-hmm.
So Kickstarter takes the stores completely out of there because they may have retailer levels, but unless they are really good deals, like equal to what they would get from a standard distributor, none of the stores are going to be happy. None of the stores are going to really push into it because, let's be honest, War Machine isn't exactly flying off the shelf right now.
No.
Most stores have been discounting it out. They still carry it. They'll still order what you want. There's still something going on. It's not dead by any stretch, but it doesn't have the market presence it used to have. In fact, if I remember correctly, it fell to like 5th on the
Really?
miniature game chart. Yeah.
Wow.
40K, Age of Sigmar, Legion, and X-Wing, I think, are all above it. Not 100% on the Legion, but definitely those first 3.
Well, I mean, it happens.
Yeah, it does. It's cyclical. But so they're not going to have the stores really pushing for it, which is going to pose a problem there because if you don't have the stores pushing for it, how are people going to get involved?
Yep. That's just exactly it. Is that when you without the stores pushing it, without some type of volunteer force, and they've reaped what they've sowed. I mean, getting rid of the press ganger corps was a big damn deal.
Whether it was warranted or not with the lawsuit, they didn't wait for the lawsuit to play out first. They just decided to can it.
Yep.
Spoiler: the lawsuit was ruled in favor of Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast.
So what did that end up with? That they were fine?
No, it ended up in favor of them. They were fine. Nothing happened. They're like, look, you guys are volunteering your time and you're getting compensation. Right. They're not employees. They don't have to give you anything.
Yep.
If you want to be an employee, be an employee. It's still a voluntary program.
Yep. So to bring people up to speed where I'm at here on this, I've been just kind of slopping some swamp down on this. One of the things to kind of keep in mind when you're doing a swamp type of an effect is that you want some striation. You don't want it to be a real consistent color. You want it to be very random, and you want it to be lighter near the shore than darker towards the outside. So what I'm going to do here after I show you this is I'm actually going to take some black, and I'm going to mix it into the darkest of the swamp colors, and I'm going to put that out towards the outside ridge of the lip so that you have this lighter to darker. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, after it dries, I'm going to plant some swamp grasses in here, and so that you have some to break it up a little bit, and you can have a reason for having some of these striations in it is to say, oh, that's where a plant is growing up, and it'll work out really super sweet that way. So there you go, John. We're at the normal part where we would switch over to the media section. Do you have some movies to talk about this week?
Just my quote unquote required the series I'm watching. I watched the next chapter of that series.
All right, so super sweet. I'm willing to talk about that, and I'm gonna just for a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna continue to paint, just because I want to get a little bit further. John, what did I do with my black? Oh, there it is. There you go.
I do not know.
Yeah, I mean, I expect you to keep track of where the devil my darn paints are on top of everything else. I don't know that that's 100% fair, John.
My black's right there. I
Oh,
can see it.
snap! All
It
right.
says Negro.
You know what
That's what it says on the side.
You know what they call a Big Mac in France?
Royale with cheese.
That's right, Royale with cheese. All right, so we're gonna make a little Royale with cheese right now, and we're gonna bring you the. Folks, there have been people who have attempted to copy the Painting with Menoth John media section. I only describe them as unsuccessful.
I find that hilarious given my other podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I describe them as unsuccessful.
Fair.
There have been some who've tried. I mean, there's your other podcast. They've tried and been successful to a certain extent.
No, that's fair. That's
no, I'm
absolutely fair.
I'm just giving some business.
No, it's all good. It's definitely a different beast over there.
It's because you don't have this idiot all liquored up. See, no, that's what I'm talking about.
Because one of my other co-hosts actually watches all of the media.
What? Say it again, John?
My other co-host watches all of the media. I can't watch media and paint or hobby, and he can, so it becomes crazy.
Yeah,
But in any case,
Gonzo's
I
all
we're
kinds of
talking about
nuts.
the Transformers series.
Yeah, I'm soup. By the way, John, I'm gonna put this on the painting cam real quick
Yeah, absolutely.
because sometimes you get lucky, and I think it's important.
Okay.
Look at that.
I'm waiting for the camera to catch up. I
Yep.
think we're a little behind.
Okay. Well, that's Twitch.
I mean, my internet's been kind of spotty tonight too. So
I'm not going to do another thing to this base other than put in tough grass tufts. Maybe if I held it up.
that's.
Can you
Yeah,
see
I'm
it?
waiting for it to. It should be just about there.
I'm going to try and hold
Come
it
on.
up to the other camera so you can see it on your Skype.
It's dark, but what I'm seeing is pretty good.
Yeah, it transitions from dark to light. It's maybe just a trick of the light.
Oh, so the funny thing is, John, it never actually. You didn't change it to the camera. We're still in the media section.
Oh, you're right. So there you go. Because podcasting, yo. Anyway, so because we're good at it. You know what I
yes,
have?
that actually looks really good.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty amazing. So
Yeah.
for your standpoint, we're going to put. I have some stuff over there that's called realistic water. It's actually used for like train setups and stuff like that. I'm just going to pour it on top of here. You lay a layer, you let it dry. Put another layer, let it dry. Put another layer, boom, you're done. And I think that once I put some tufts and things on this, I'm going to be in a pretty good place.
Yeah.
I think it's going to turn out pretty good. I got to fix the little jewels here. I got to run the jewels, John.
Oh shit!
I know, right? I got to run the jewels. I got to get all killer
That's
mic
a
on
callback
this.
to the all day episode.
I know, right? Man, I was wearing underwear on my head at that point. And
The second one, not that one.
oh, the second, very good.
The one with chickens in the mist.
Oh God, chickens in the mist. I have some big cocks in that episode, boy. I'll tell you what.
Absolutely, the biggest.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shut off this light. I'm going to shut off that light because, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the often copied but never quite equaled, except on Sunday night when it's super sweet, media section with John Spencer. John, what have you watched this week?
Well, I'm continuing my trek through the Transformers live action movies.
Okay, so hopefully we're in a better
boy, is
spot
this
than we were
enjoyable.
last week.
What was that?
Well, hopefully we're in a better spot than we were last week.
Kinda, yeah. So, I was off work Monday because I had a doctor's appointment. So I watched it before the doctor's appointment. Let me tell you the slight miscalculation with that.
Okay.
In order to get to the doctor, I have to drive.
Oh,
If I have to drive, I cannot drink.
that's a problem, Mr. John.
Yep. 40 minutes into this movie, I'm like, oh God, why am I doing this?
All right. So which one are we talking about, buddy?
Dark of the Moon.
Dark of the Moon,
It
you
is-
say? Hey, there was
the last
there was
of the
an
Sheila-
audible, like incoming of breath from our intern Haley.
Unfortunately, I think she's seen this movie as well.
I love the Transformers movies, so.
Say it again.
I love the Transformers movies way too much.
There's a little bit of a judgment issue with our with our intern,
Well-
but we're gonna do the best we can.
Actually, at the end of this, I'm going to introduce her to a YouTube channel. Hopefully, she knows. If she doesn't, she'll find a kindred spirit in that YouTube channel.
Okay, very good.
So, Transformers Dark of the Moon, it is the last of the Shia LaBeouf Transformers movies. As I said last week, I'm still kind of looking forward to the Mark Wahlberg ones, but based on some reviews, I may be rose-colored glasses.
They're not great.
That's,
I mean, especially
it's fair.
since when I reviewed the fourth Transformers movie, I think I drank a third of a bottle of Kraken during that.
A third of a bottle of Kraken, you say?
Yeah, that was a while ago.
That's a death wish.
I mean, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I don't
Anyways,
blame
in this movie, they replaced Megan Fox with a ex-Victoria's Secrets model, who is quite fetching and at least her equal as an actor.
you. So
actress?
a comely lass, you say?
Yes. They sort of write it out as Megan Fox's character, Michaela, dumped him, and now he found this one when he's getting a medal from Obama. So they try and work it in, and apparently the script was written with Megan Fox's character in mind. So some of the things that seemed kind of quick and are a little weird are because of that. In any case, Sam is trying to get a job because he's a college graduate and has, almost no work experience. So he's got to try and get a job.
Little close to home there. That we don't like that one so much.
Um, so
Just
it
imagine
it hits the
being
humor. The humor is definitely scaled a tiny bit back from the last movie, which is good because it was a little over the top in that particular movie. It's kind of terrible at points. The parents are a little more low key, which is good.
Loki, what is this? A Marvel movie? Sorry, just kidding.
Wow.
Oh, cut
Um,
chow.
the Transformers are still working with the military, and they introduce Frances McDormand, who's like the Secretary of Defense, who's like the new government liaison, who at least in this case, unlike the last movie, isn't a total. She's a bit of a bitch, but she's not incompetent and antagonistic
Fair enough.
unduly. Um, Other than that, the basic plot is that the Transformers find in Chernobyl some Autobot technology that apparently was from the moon.
As you
Because
do.
the real reason we went to the moon is because there was a alien spaceship crash there. They work this all in. They show lots of classic clips with some reimaginings of moon landings and stuff.
Yeah, I think I
So
remember
the
that.
Autobots,
I may have
Go ahead.
tuned into this one before.
yeah. So the Autobots go there in their shuttle, which they don't explain at the time, but they explain later. It brought the second wave of Autobots. For movie people out there, it's actually probably better to explain this before we fucking see the shuttle for the first time, not after. Like they reveal the shuttle later, like it's they've got a shuttle. Like no shit, they used it to go to the moon earlier. That's how this shit started. Do you remember? It was early. I mean,
Good.
I know this movie's like 2 hours and 43 minutes long and is a bit of a slog at points, but come on. So they come back. They find God, I forget who it is. They forgot. They find the leader of the Autobots before Optimus Prime, whose name I've already forgotten because
Rodimus
I
Prime?
apparently didn't care that much.
No.
I'm gonna say Indominus.
No, not Rodimus Prime. Rodimus Prime is much cooler than this guy.
Okay.
Sentinel Prime. I think his name was
Yes,
Sentinel Prime.
it was.
So, we have confirmation
Voiced by
from the
Leonard Nimoy.
intern. We have confirmation. It was Sentinel Prime.
Okay.
Yep.
So they're bringing Sentinel Prime back. He's got this technology that was supposed to win the war for him, and they're going to do that and help them bring Cybertron back and all this stuff. And so I'm going to ignore most of Sam's plot because to a point, Sam's plot doesn't matter aside from the standard screaming and yelling and being generally annoying as shit. Yeah. He has a couple moments, not as many as in the past movies. This is probably the worst movie for him as a character. He doesn't get even the handful of moments he got in the movie before, which is really kind of bad. Eventually, he does clue into the plot of what's going on, and he contacts John Turturro's character, Seymour Simmons, Agent Simmons from Sector 7 in the first movie and the second movie.
At least it's not Seymour Butts.
And no, it's not. And they start looking at why all these astronauts and NASA people have died because in one of the least funny parts of the movie, he gets a job with, I was going to ignore this, but John Malkovich is in it as like his boss, the guy who hires him. And John Malkovich brings something to the movie, but I'm not sure it's something great. He's at least amusing when he's on the screen.
Hey, it's a paycheck, bitch.
Yeah, exactly. But one of his coworkers there, like way higher up than him, he's delivered mail, is some Asian comedian, I think, who was not funny at all in this. Every one of his jokes was absolutely terrible. He was creepy.
Oh, no, I was just going to
and-
guess. I was going to say Ken Jeong because from Community.
Yes.
Because when they need an Asian to not be funny, they go to Ken.
Yup.
Wow.
So, I mean,
wow, has
when
he walked into a stereotype? That's not okay.
Yeah, no.
Wow.
His timing is good. You can tell his timing is good, but the jokes
Yeah,
they
he's-
wrote for him are not.
No, he's
good.
a good actor with terrible scripts. He
Yes.
peaked with Community.
Whoever wrote this, and
Michael.
instead of being Deep Throat, he's trying to be an informer because he knows what's going on. He calls himself Deep Wang. Yeah.
Honest to
that's a
God.
facepalm.
Honest to God, that's a joke we wouldn't do on this show. And
Nope.
we're
No, it's just-
and we are capable of anything on this show.
And just imagine that Ken Jeong is on top of Shia LaBeouf in a urinal in the men's bathroom saying the name Deep Wang to him multiple times.
Okay, that's just dumb. And
Yes.
and Ken, what's what's interesting is that Ken Jeong is now on this fucking ridiculous show called The Masked Singer.
Yup.
And
Okay.
and he's just playing a stereotype. And it's like at some point, Ken, it's like, okay, I get paychecks are important and shit, but back the fuck off the crack pipe for me just once, because you have
Yeah.
chops. You have chops as an actor. I'm hoping somebody someday gives him the opportunity to act as an actual human being, because I bet
I'll be
he'd be
fair.
good at it.
You know he's a doctor too, right?
I don't doubt
I don't-
that.
He is a doctor.
So our intern reports that Ken is a doctor. Actually, in what discipline?
He's a general doctor, I believe, because he has a video on YouTube where it's like Kim Jong answers Google's most searched medical questions, and he answers all of them. So he's a doctor.
Yeah. So my guess
Yeah,
is that
Princeton
once again we have
1919 confirmed also.
institutional racism, as it turns out. So also Ken Jeong is a medical degree and is a doctor. So think of that when you are saying Deep Wang. Honest to God, people, can we just toss some serious roles at some people because they might be competent at them? Jesus.
And let's not hold anything that's done in a Transformers movie against the actor.
No, at the beginning,
We have the same people writing them. I mean, the second movie, the reason it was so bad at points is because Michael Bay wrote a good portion of that because writer's strike.
The intern can come to every episode at this point. Her reactions are just money.
I love to hate Michael Bay.
Yeah, Michael Bacon, KMA.
Yeah, he's. Oh, any case, so Sam and Seymour start looking into this, and there's some funny scenes. You've got Alan Tudyk as his manservant / assistant, Dutch, and Alan Tudyk's doing the best he can with what he's got.
Dutch?
He's generally amusing.
Dutch? He tries to be Dutch.
No, his name is Dutch.
Oh, okay. Because literally every Dutch person I've ever met is 3 feet taller than Alan Tudyk.
Yeah, his name is Dutch. I think he's German actually. His character's supposed to be German. Whatever.
Fair enough.
He's like, he's not important because he actually disappears after this short portion of the movie.
All right. Fair enough.
And this movie's all over the place. So it turns out that they find out that the Decepticons actually already found the spaceship and already took all the rest of the pillars that are going to do this great technological thing, because Sentinel Prime was in league with the Decepticons to preserve the race rather than to win the war for the Autobots.
All right.
So so every action scene in this movie is good and bad. You're like, that's cool. Then you're like, the fuck was that? Like, there's this great freeway chase with Bumblebee and the other two cars, and then some Decepticons come up, and there's a point where Bumblebee transforms, and Sam's just screaming the whole time. You're like a howler monkey. Stop. You've been through this twice already. He should be at this point calm, cool, and collected. He should be like, I know it's going to be okay. But no, that would be intelligent character writing and not in a Michael Bay film.
Can't have that.
Nope.
Wouldn't be prudent.
So in any case, you get this scene where Sentinel Prime betrays them and kills Ironhide, which would have any meaning if we actually cared about Ironhide much, but he's never been other than a big bruiser. So you're like, that's unfortunate. It wasn't like a really meaningful betrayal. It was kind of handled poorly by the director. And then he runs away, and there's a fight between him and Optimus real quick that ends with him sparing Optimus, which is cool. I think they could have done more with that, but they didn't. All the while, there's a subplot of the person that Sam's girlfriend, Carly, is working for, and it turns out that he's working for the Decepticons also. And he had given her a car, and the car was, of course, Soundwave, because Soundwave turns into a car, and he wasn't a satellite last movie or anything.
Shh.
Anyways. And they get the whole thing where basically they threaten Carly, so Sam will do whatever they want. They give him a wristwatch that'll make him do what they say, because the Decepticons have opened a space bridge and brought a bunch of more Decepticons in, and they basically are taking over, and they tell the world government that we only want some natural resources, then we'll leave, but you got to kick the Autobots off the planet.
There's a lot of Deus Ex Machina going on in this, it sounds like.
Oh, you could call it Deus Ex Machina the movie, but anyways. So they decide to kick him off. So the shuttle scene and all that, and then it goes up, and the shuttle gets blown up by Starscream because, of course, a whole Autobot ship can be blown up by one simple Decepticon.
Of course.
Of course,
As you do.
it's sad. Everyone thinks their friends are dead. And then Decepticons take over Chicago because Chicago?
Where did that come from?
Don't know. So, I shit you not, the last hour and 10 minutes of this movie is them getting into a giant fight scenes in Chicago.
Yes.
You get Tyrese Gibson from the last movie coming back, reprising his role. Of course, you've got Josh Duhamel in his same role.
Yes.
You've got, and Sam's going to get his girlfriend because he knows she's there because the bad guy took her there. And Tyrese Gibson is retired from the military, but he gets all his ex-retired buddies, and they all going with him. They weren't originally going to go, but Sam's going to go alone because he's Sam, and somehow he's grown a set of balls in 3 seconds, despite the howler monkey screaming. And then the Autobots show back up because, of course, they hit out in the booster and they weren't actually destroyed. And then it becomes a giant assault on Chicago, which has some great scenes. And nothing really terrible in those. Carly has her finest moment where, Sentinel Prime's been bossing people around and everything. And she goes up to Megatron, who's still messed up from the last movie. And she tells him, like, oh, you're about to be Sentinel Prime's bitch, right? We all know who's got the real power here. Which causes Megatron to turn on Sentinel Prime as he's whooping Optimus Prime's ass. And mess him up. Then Prime defeats Megatron and defeats Sentinel Prime. And they turn off the pillars that are bringing Cybertron back and end the movie happily ever after.
Honest to God.
There's a lot wrong with this movie.
I'm exhausted
more wrong
listening
than
to
right.
it.
Yeah. It is probably a good 40 minutes longer than it needs to be. You could cut out some plots. I like what they tried to do. I think they could have really cut it down to a solid movie, and I think that's the problem with a lot of the later ones, is that they try to do too much. They're drinking their own Kool-Aid, believing their own hype that they can do what they want, and they're not there. They're not. The plots go everywhere. They could have really just had Sam being unemployed, catching wind of this plot somehow. Sees a guy killed. The guy tells him, like, as he's dying, expiring, what's going on, because he recognizes Sam because he's in the know. And that could give Ken Jeong like an actual real role for a second if he's just a couple scenes in the building and then getting killed.
Yep.
And have him team up with Agent Simmons, and they can go around do their thing, and you could have kept them more involved. But it's just a lot of not much. The Transformers barely matter at some points in this movie. Sam is almost never given any agency of his own. Carly is unfortunately absolutely window dressing. She gets one scene. She's not even up to the lofty standards of Michaela Baines from the first two. She doesn't get much at all. And so it's way better than the last one.
Yes.
Actually, honestly, once you get through those first 40 minutes, the rest is pretty solid. But I got to give it 3 shots of Kraken. You need to be a little,
Gotta get
little
your loop
toasty
on,
to get
huh?
through this.
No,
Yeah.
I get it.
So like I said, I'm looking forward to the Mark Wahlberg ones, except for one moment in the next one that I know is going to get me every time.
So, no, it's good. John, you represent a level of dedication and perseverance that I'm not sure that this show deserves. And I appreciate the fact that you go and do this for the team. And some of these you watch are better than others.
Well, I got the bonus in this one of Officer Rob having given me the entire collection on Blu-ray because he really wanted me to watch The Last Night. And I wouldn't go see it with him in the theater because there's points. So
Yep.
it was very nice of him. So I'm getting good use out of it.
I unfortunately saw it in theaters.
Yeah, our intern has said she saw all of these in theaters, and bless her heart.
I only saw the first one in theaters. The second one I missed, I think, because the ex-wife didn't want to go see it. Then we saw it on video and immediately regretted our decision. I never saw the third one until Officer Rob bought me this set. I caught the fourth one on Amazon Prime and reviewed it for Mark II of this podcast. And then I saw The Last Night because he wanted me to.
All right. John, we're just going to briefly cover a series that I watched, and we're going to call it a show. We're going to talk about the Dark Crystal, the Age of Resistance.
Okay.
This is a prequel to the Dark Crystal movie by Jim Henson, and is the spiritual successor to that particular movie. This was Belinda the Librarian. How many episodes is Dark Crystal? 10? Okay. I got to tell you, folks, The Dark Crystal was not a movie that I had a lot of nostalgia for as a younger person. At my age, there are certain properties that hold a certain nostalgia for millennials and people who are just a tiny little bit younger than I am that I don't share. And that's fair. And that's cool. And I don't begrudge them because your childhood is what you had. And the Dark Crystal, I know, means a ton to a lot of people. And the Muppets and Jim Henson mean a lot to me because, hell, they taught me to speak in Spanish at least up to the number 10. And it's the Dark Crystal is a serious drama portrayed in puppets, and Jim Henson and his
That's a little heavy.
it's serious business. There's no two ways about it. And the Dark Crystal is a great little movie, is a great little story. And I think that the Netflix series, The Age of Resistance, is a worthy successor. I think that they did a really nice job of developing characters that you care about over the course of the series. They developed the characters of the Skeksis, as well as the development of the podlings and also the fucking elf creatures, whatever the fuck they were called.
Gelflings?
Gelflings, yeah. Whatever. Fuck elves. Anyway, they did a really good job of getting characters that you care about. And at the end of the day, when you're sitting down and you're watching a show, you want to be invested in the characters that you're spending time with. And I think they did a really nice job. You can fault Netflix for a lot of things, but you can't fault them for the job that they did on this one. And I think that they are it was a 10-episode series. You never really got bored with it. They expanded the universe very nicely. They explained a lot of things, to be honest. And I think that the character design, the acting, the voice work that was done was excellent. This is something that I think if you haven't watched The Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance on Netflix, if you have Netflix, definitely watch it. If you don't have Netflix, pirate it. It is good enough that you should invest your time and your resources in watching it. It's a good series, tugs at your heartstrings a little bit in some locations, and there's a good. Honestly, life is hard enough as it stands, and I like to watch shows that have happy endings and redemption stories because of it. And this story is strong in that respect. So I give it a solid 1 shot of Kraken because, you're sitting down, you're watching Gelflings and all kinds of bullshit. Have a shot of Kraken because why not?
Muppet toys look a little bit better with a shot of Kraken.
They do. They put a
more
little
convincing. Like, yeah.
They're going to put a little sheen on them, if you will.
Yeah.
So, anyhow. Well, there you go, folks.
So,
go ahead, John.
Before we go, John.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell Haley about a YouTuber she should check out if she likes Transformers series. Her name is Lindsay Ellis, and it's Lindsay with an A. And she does a whole series on movie theory. She actually has a degree, or was working on a degree, through the scope of the Transformers movies plus more, and she's very enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. I usually watch everything. CinemaSins. That's the one that I mainly pay attention to. But yeah, I'll have to definitely take a peek.
Oh, I skip CinemaSins. They're a little too negative nowadays. They got some funny stuff. I like Cinema Wins.
I only watch Transformers for CinemaSins because they're funny, but I do agree.
Fair enough.
I don't know if John, you're into the expanded Star Wars universe. If you have you paid any attention to Eckhart's Ladder?
I watched a bit of Eckhart's Ladder for a bit. He went off the rails a couple months ago, and I stopped following him.
Interesting. I've really enjoyed his takes on like the history of the Legends portion of it.
Oh yeah,
I think that he does history of the Star Wars universe better than anybody. As a part of my workout program, I've watched all of the Clone Wars, and now I'm watching Rebels, and I really enjoy how I know a lot. I can piece it all together a lot better, given some of the things I've learned on Eckhart's Ladder.
yeah. He's got good stuff. Like I said, he just got a little crazy for a little bit there. I might check him out again later. Also,
Okay.
check out Star Wars Explained. He does a good job as well. And Meta Nerds.
Okay, super sweet. You know, folks, we give you 90 minutes of our lives. We really do. I mean, there really is no other way to explain it. Now, folks, if you get some echo, I can't fucking help you. All right, there you go, folks. Technology is what it is. This computer is going to do exactly what it plans to, and we cut it off for like 90 minutes, and then you get a minute of echo, maybe, and but what we are guaranteed to give you is entertainment, and you can come or you can not come all day. That's what we're gonna do. John, I'm not doing nothing next Wednesday. What about you?
I got no plans.
Well, shit balls. That means we're gonna do Painting with Menoth, John. We're probably gonna be back here, folks. I'm gonna paint some shit. You're probably gonna get to see this piece of shit finally finished. And if I set a goal, and y'all know Menoth, John, I'm gonna get that goal. Much like the Wu-Tang Clan, Menoth John ain't nothing to fuck with. I'm gonna get this done, if for no other reason than to prove a point and get Helios in the done column. John, you got something to say? Oh, see, speechless. Anyway, on behalf of the best intern in the business, Ms. Haley. Oh shit, look at that. The guy up in the catbird seat, you know him as Mr. John Spencer. I'm Menoth John. Stay tuned to July, bitches, because we're coming for your money. We're going to be back next Wednesday. This is the Painting with Menoth John Wednesday night extravaganza. Be good or be good at it. We'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.